on this episode, we have someone that he does a really important job for the guard and our organization. And I think when we go downrange, once we go downrange, we look for this type of people when we get injured, and you'll see they, as previous podcasts, Sergeant Max Miller, they've been portrayed, but then also people like our guest today, it has also they're also being portrayed on movies, and they're really, really important to our organization. So welcome, Sergeant Orlando Miranda. How you doing?
Hey, thank you for having me here, Sergeant Rivera. I'm glad to be here.
So, big thing, main
Yes.
thing. What's your background? How you join? When you joined the National Guard? How you end up being a soldier with us?
How did I end up being in this position? Well, so, my background, I come from a traditional Mexican household. And, I've met a lot of fellow battle buddies that, hey, my mom, my dad served. For me, it was my siblings, right? So I'm the baby of the family. I'm the youngest by 10 years. So my closest sibling is 10 years older than me. And she currently still serves with the Colorado Army National Guard. She's been in for over 20 plus years. And,
Oh wow!
And she's the one. She's the one that reeled me in and said, hey, what do you want to do in your life, right? I was at 18, just graduated high school. And my entire childhood, I was like, no, I'll never join the military. I saw what they were doing. I thought it was impressive. And I thought I couldn't amount to it. I thought I would not be able to compete. My sister is a very well-rounded professional in her profession, and I was like, I can't compete with her. She's awesome, and no, she talked me into it, and here, now I find myself 14 years later in the Colorado Army National Guard, first enlisted in 2010. I started as a 92 Fox, which is a fueler, and I grew up in the aviation community as a aviation refueler. And that job is just awesome, and I love the culture there, the people, they're just awesome. And the people, my colleagues that I worked with, the fellow soldiers, there's flight medics, right? So I'm like, hey, that job looks pretty cool, and I never knew, hey, what do I need to do to be there? And it was just, you ask a friend, hey, how'd you become a flight medic? Well, first you got to become a 68 whiskey. Well, when you're young in your career, you're trying to capture what each 68 or first two numeric and the letter MOS is. 68 whiskey is like, hey, that's a combat medic. And a combat medic is like, whoa, okay, that's something that I've never fathomed that I would be doing. And now I'm here as a qualified combat medic, and I excuse me, I now work with 169 Field Artillery Brigade with the state of Colorado. I am their brigade medical readiness NCO. So I work as a combat medic, but I also help manage the medical readiness of our entire brigade.
That's awesome. So going back to training, like you reclass from being a fueler to being a combat medic, right?
Yes.
And what was it like? I know there's a long MOS. There's a long, right? There's a long school.
Yes, and I actually did the accelerated version of the combat medic.
Which is still long, right?
It is long. It is a total of 8 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
and it's high-paced. It's a lot of studying. There's not much time for downtime. We were constantly studying, and even then, it was intense, but it was very rewarding.
Mm-hmm.
Not only did I just, hey, I'm a qualified 68 whiskey, but the first phase is to be a nationally registered EMT.
Mm-hmm.
So you go through the testing, right? You have to be nationally registered. And with the testing, you also have a skills evaluation. So where you assess a patient, in a trauma setting, right? If this, let's say somebody falls from a 10-foot ladder, assess that patient and how can you render aid and get into higher care. Also, medical, right? There's always people that have medical conditions that require medical emergencies. So we are assessed on those skills, and we have to pass, to make sure that we are properly assessing the patient so we can get into higher care.
So, how long you been combat medic?
So I've only been a medic for this November will be 2 years.
2 years.
Yes.
What is the craziest thing you've seen in your field?
So, and the craziest thing,
without detailing too much,
detailing. So
because of the and we know EPA law and all that stuff.
No, yeah, exactly right. So, no, and it was a. I felt really.
It could be outside because, as you mentioned, you're an EMT.
Yes.
So it could be outside.
No,
either.
This was part of the Colorado Army National Guard.
Mm-hmm.
We were actually activated for state active duty on a state mission where we had an Arctic blast, and I was a brand new medic,
Mm-hmm.
and this was right before the holidays, right before the one or 2 days before Christmas, and we were dispatched out to the different shelters throughout the Denver metro area. And so we were just there to help, keep the peace, help the homeless population seek shelter, and just provide assistance. And during that time, there was actually it wasn't my patient. I did not treat him, but this person had a stab wound that had been infected, right? And I'm just like, hey, especially a brand new medic, you're not seeing anything too crazy.
Mm-hmm.
You're still trying to learn your job, right? Try to be proficient in your job, but it's like, hey, you get some real world, not training, but an experience that's, hey, how can I? And then you learn from that, right? It's like, well, what can I have done if I was at the capacity to treat this patient? And this patient, he's like, hey, I need help. It hurts. It was obviously a stab wound that happened not here in Denver or in Colorado, but he had been walking around with this stab wound in his leg.
Oh, wow.
And so it had been severely infected, and the patient, just needed some antibiotics,
Mm-hmm.
and he would have been fine. I believe he's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But, just from a brand new medic perspective, it's like, oh, wow, this is real,
Mm-hmm.
And then it wasn't a fellow soldier. It wasn't a battle buddy. This was general public, population that I was assessing here.
Wow. So, going back to to the military, being like the main thing. So what do you like currently do with the medical detachment? It's not the medical detachment, right? It's the
No. So I work under. Or I'm with 169 Field Artillery Brigade.
okay.
So I work in the headquarters element,
Mm-hmm.
but I help all our lower echelon units
Mm-hmm.
and our direct report units, and I help them with other medical readiness.
So it's medical readiness.
Yes, medical readiness, yes.
So how are we doing on medical readiness for the 169?
Well, for the 169 and collectively as Colorado, we're doing very well. We are ranked currently right now at number 5
That's
in
great.
all 54
Mhm.
states and territories. So I work directly with the Office of the State Surgeon,
Mm-hmm.
which we're all just busy trying to make sure that, hey, how can we maintain soldiers' medical readiness to make sure that they're deployable,
Mm-hmm.
for cases of state active duty, or if we have to go downrange overseas, can we be medically ready? Because if soldiers have any type of medical issues that will cause a greater issue when they're deployed,
Mm-hmm.
we want to help prevent that. So
Yeah.
we're constantly working every day.
That's great. So recently you mentioned to me that you were working to help. So you work every day. Work trying to help soldiers that are on profile on
Yes.
LODs. So can you explain me more about that side of your work?
Yeah, so during our normal training or a mission, soldiers will tend to, we do everything in our power to
Mhm.
prevent that, right? The best treatment is prevention.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that starts with, hey, if a soldier is severely dehydrated, if we can make sure, hey, soldier, drink water, right? That's something that we look over
Yeah.
to each other as battle buddies. Hey, battle buddy, you're looking a little bit dehydrated. Let me take care of you. But in the case that a soldier is potentially needs to see urgent care or is hospitalized, you know, I work directly with the units to make sure the soldiers get the proper care that they need. And there is administrative things that we need to make sure, just to make sure that the soldier is taken care of financially for the medical cost.
Mm-hmm.
And then any further care, we have an amazing nurse case management team on the other side of things, right, to make sure that the soldier is goes through rehabilitation, or I'm sorry, is rehabbed
Mm-hmm.
to you know, to get back into the medical readiness so they can get back into the fight.
Awesome. So, that being said, you know, elevated duty lives inside the recruitment and retention battalion.
Yes.
What opportunities do we have out there for, you know, I know there's opportunities for physician assistants and nurses and all that type of stuff that
Yes.
if they want to come and, you know, help the fight with their knowledge. So
Yes.
what's out there for them?
So I was fortunate to be part of the 928th Medical Company Area Support.
Mm-hmm.
So you think about normally a combat medic, if you're in a line unit, you know, you're probably the only medical professional, probably most likely accompanied by a medical officer.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're in an infantry unit, right, most likely going to be the only medical professional there. So, you know, 68 Whiskey, the only combat medic, one assigned per a platoon of 40.
Mm-hmm.
I was fortunate to start off with 928th, which is a whole company of medical professionals, you know, ranging from our combat medics to field surgeons. We have a dentist. There are our providers, or you know, we have amazing professionals there that, I mean, even with the logistics support, right, we're kind of just I wouldn't say one-stop shop, but we that unit operates at a roll tube capacity with surgical capabilities, right? So if we need to set up a little jump battalion aid station,
Mm-hmm.
right, so we can help soldiers that are forward, they can come to us, right, as their primary level of care. And if we need to triage that soldier or patient, it doesn't necessarily need to be an American soldier.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a NATO, right, a coalition force.
Mm-hmm.
If we need to triage that patient to a higher level of care, then we'll work with, you know, medevac, right, or air support there. You know, and at that level, when you're in the flight paramedic, right, so the paramedic, I mean, that opportunity is also amazing. But you know, there are PAs, right, and which, as a combat medic, you know, you have that opportunity to apply to become a provider through IPAP, and which is an amazing program. And I think a lot of our providers have been a previous combat medic.
That's great. That's
Yes.
awesome. So what's something that that you know on your field that nobody, like, people don't know that we do have here? Like, is there something that people they're not tracking that we do that, or we support under that?
So, I mean, right, so I know a lot of people, like, first of all, 928th, they're like, yeah, we didn't know we had a medical company.
Mm-hmm.
Some people see us as, you know, or like, oh, 928th, they think that we're the medical detachment.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Right?
And it was,
yeah,
like,
it's a common misconception.
Even for me.
Right? So, you know, MedDet is always busy.
Mm-hmm.
What do they, you know, I know they help out the entire state, the entire organization with annual physicals, right? To keep us, they have the capabilities to...
they run the PHAs and all that stuff.
They run the PHAs, right? So the physical health assessment, which is an annual requirement for us to be deployable.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, you know, the medical company 928th, we can push forward. We're not in a fixed facility.
Mm-hmm.
We can be anywhere you need us to be to help out with like high angle rescues, which we train for. We do amazing missions, and we have these amazing opportunities, not just with the Colorado Army National Guard, but other branches. We do. It's frequent when we do trauma training with the Air Force, and it's something that people really don't know that we do, but we're constantly training. And these professionals as medics, they don't just play medic while in uniform. They're, a lot of them I know work in a hospital. They work in an ambulance. They're constantly working in the medical field and learning, and that's just something that's very impressive that they're just building up their profession anywhere they go.
That's awesome. So going back to what you mentioned on training with the Air Force, that's joint training.
Yes.
So how is that? Have been that experience for you?
That experience, it definitely helps, right? So the human anatomy and physiology, I feel that it's the same. In training terms, we're the same training tool, right? So if you are let's say a mechanic, you're a mechanic on a specific military or army equipment that the Air Force does not use. Okay. There are some, doesn't transfer over, right? So it's like you're talking to the Air Force and they're like, I don't know, right? With being a medic, right, or person that we're working on, we have the same knowledge, right? It's not one body's different from another. I mean, there could be some things, but it's the same thing. So you're learning from these different backgrounds, from different walks of life. It's already, the Air Force tends to see a lot of this particular case. The Army, we see a lot of soldiers that have leg injuries, right? Why? Because we ruck a lot. We do a lot of rough terrain training, and so we can really throw in our 2 cents with these coalition forces to all reach the same objective or complete the mission and make sure, we can we treat this patient? Can we get them to the higher level of care if needed? And it's pretty, I would say it's a universal thing working with, and not just a joint exercise with another branch. I've actually been part of it was a medevac training exercise with Spain, with the Spaniards, in a coalition training exercise with them overseas. Why there was a language barrier, right, with the Spanish Army, Task Force Toro. And I was in a medic at the time, and I was deployed with an aviation unit, the medevac unit, and they said, we're trying to do some medevac training with these fine gentlemen, or, this fine Army, and can you help us with, translating, how do you load a patient onto the aircraft? And, they even simulated turning on the aircraft. The pilots were there. We had our flight medics there, and in a coalition effort, working together side by side, how can we expedite loading a patient onto the aircraft so we can get them to higher care? So that was very interesting.
That's great.
Which was like, it was an honor for me, to be asked, right? Because Spanish is my first language.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, definitely. I'll sign me up. I was already making friends with that coalition force there, and to be part of it and to not even be a medic, just there translating was awesome. And that's an experience I tell all my friends and my family. And, because from my culture is like, what all do you do in the Army? And I tell them I wasn't even a medic at the time. And I was glad I was able to contribute to that training exercise.
So in that moment you were having glance
you
were like, oh, this is what you can do.
Yeah, for sure. Right.
That's cool.
Yeah. So, it's using that skill. It's not a skill. It's just, I was fortunate to grow up in a Spanish only household, which my mom, was very strict, and she still is till this day. But it helped me, and and helped my brothers and sisters in uniform, to accomplish a mission.
That's great. So, what do you recommend to those folks willing to join the Colorado Army National Guard and be a medic. So what do you recommend them?
What I would recommend is, don't be scared of the challenge. For me, I thought it was the anxiety building up to becoming a medic was like, oh, I don't know. I've never worked with the anatomy of a person other than myself.
Yeah.
Right. And, that challenge was like, oh, the buildup was tense. When I first got to the schoolhouse was tense. But I mean, the Army helps you. The Army is here to help you succeed. They're not here to just watch you crash and burn and fail. So somebody who's, let's say on the other side of the door, waiting to talk to a recruiter, don't be afraid of the challenge. It's very rewarding. There's many paths you can take as a combat medic. You don't have to just end here, right? You have that flight paramedic option. You want to fly, that's awesome. You want to become a PA. There's many options, and it's not just combat medic. There's other medical specialties in the Colorado Army National Guard. There's lab techs, radiologists, that's MOSs that, if it's not just, hey, first aid, EMT line of work.
Yeah. So one thing I want to emphasize is that when you joined, that you never thought you were gonna be a medic, right?
Oh no! Like I said, they could barely get me in the door.
Yeah. So one great thing is like for those like that already joined into the guard, and they think they're like we Norcross emphasized this a lot, and he's not here today. Right. For those like wondering why Sergeant Norcross is not here today, he's sick, and his voice is not that crisp.
I was looking forward to see him today.
Yeah, it's not that crisp today, and so we have him on quarters. So
all right, yeah. See, that's taking the direction from the doc. Stay home and rest and get better, and then we'll see him tomorrow.
Yeah, shout out to Sergeant Norcross.
Yeah.
So he mentioned again and we mentioned on previous podcast that if you're currently serving and you feel like your career's stuck and you don't like your MOS anymore, and that's something we can do, and like just change MOSs.
Yes.
Go reclass, go do something else. Don't get stuck, or don't just give up to the guard. They're like, I don't like my job, I'm quitting. It's like, really, you have like 80 other options, and you're just quitting because you don't like your job. I don't think that's an option. No,
there's always different avenues, and it's not just in the medical community, right? I came from a petroleum specialist, and which I worked in the civilian side was in industrial petroleum, and I've met a lot of great people in that industry, and hey, this combat medic position was available, and I prepared myself, with the board, and, asking questions to the right people. Hey, what other jobs are out there can help you? Hey, did you know cyber is a thing, right? There is a lot of opportunities, and I know there's a lot of push. It's just we need to get that message out there to our brothers and sisters and potential recruits.
Yeah, now that you're mentioning that, for those who don't know, so we currently have the Joint Enlistment Enhancement program, which is the JEEP program, and the overall aim for that program is to gain assistance in enlisting soldiers into the Colorado National Guard, not only for Army but also Air Guard, and it will provide monetary incentives of $500 to soldiers or airmen who are currently serving, and they provide a lead that will end up enlisting. And that's something is out there for our force, and we recently handed in the first check at the COARNG symposium.
Yes, I did see that.
We want to keep giving those away. So if you're currently serving and someone like family, friend, or like your neighbor that they want to serve, just make sure you do it through the Jeep program, and you'll get those $500.
Yes, I know that's something that on I potentially, I want to help the people that ask me. People see me in uniform all the time, and they thank me for my service, and I thank them for the support. But there's always that. Hey, you have a minute or two to talk about. Hey, what do you do? And well, this is what I do. And
Mm-hmm.
hey, let me get you in touch with one of my recruiter friends, right? And I network with you guys, and the recruiting's awesome. I love you guys, and you guys brought me on, and if I can just help engage people to join and hear our story, I think that it's something they might get into, make a career out of it.
That's great. So what's next for you? What's next on your career? What are your you recently got promoted, right?
Yes, I
Congratulations
recently,
on that.
no, thank you. Yeah, so I recently got promoted now that I'm within the brigade echelon. And it's an animal, because I'm not just focusing on one unit
Mm-hmm.
of which was 70 people. Now it's an entire brigade, and it keeps me on my toes. Tracking individual cases, making sure, hey, a soldier was injured, he's currently being treated, or hey, the soldier's getting the treatment and physical therapy he needs to get back into the fight. So, but of course, I'm always thinking about my next step ahead, right? To get promoted onto the next level. And if I can, keep mastering my skills as a medic,
Mm-hmm.
right? In a case of an activation of whatever, if it's stateside or overseas. Right now, I just want to focus on my career, my family, and, right now, the biggest thing that I give thanks to the Guard is my family benefits from it. My wife is currently working on her undergrad at CU Denver with my GI Bill benefits.
That's great.
So it's something that, hey, it's not just me reaping the benefits.
Mm-hmm.
My family is too. And it's just something that's amazing. I was like, hey, that took a huge financial burden off of our shoulders,
Mm-hmm.
because my wife, she works, and my lovely wife, she's just always busy studying, has her nose in a book, and that's like, I did not know the Army could do that, or the National Guard would help me, and it has, and she's even more committed. She's like, oh, okay, it's almost like a scholarship, but I earned it with my time in service.
Yeah, that's great. I'm glad to hear success stories, and I like to hear people using their benefits.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of soldiers that they don't even know
Yes.
what benefits they have,
Mhm.
or like what they are entitled to.
Yes.
And I think I'm glad to hear that you're taking
Yes.
advantage of the benefits you gain.
Yes.
'Cause,
Yeah, and if
it's a two-way road. You give your country and state, but then they will take care of you. So
and
it's great.
for me, I see, hey, they're taking care of me and my family. It's an amazing opportunity.
That's awesome. So thank you for coming up here,
Yes.
having a chat with us.
Thank you, Sergeant Rivera.
So if you're liking the content, go below, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that YouTube can send you a notification to whenever we upload new videos, either clips or full podcasts. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram, CO National Guard. Links will be on the description, or they will come out as overlays.
All right.
Again, Sergeant Miranda.
All right. Thank you, Sergeant
thank you
Rivera.
for-
It was a pleasure.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Take care.
Right on.
That was good.
Yeah, that was good. I liked it.